kind of like a hard pill to swallow to say, I need to let them have them because that's who they're going to, so.
I hate that. That's their neighborhoods like that. Chelsea Park is one of them.
Absolutely.
Y'all ready to get started?
On every street.
Right. Oh, I know. But you quickly find out, I mean, they're not all, they're not all, they're not
Good morning,
all like
everybody.
y'all.
I just want to thank y'all all for coming this morning. Unfortunately, Jen couldn't be here. Her dad's having some issues and had to go to the hospital, so she's up there with him. But man, what a great crowd. I'm glad to see everybody here and excited to get together in person. The Zoom stuff's fun and informative and easy, but it's always fun to get together in person too. Rebecca, our teacher, is passing out.
I mean, no pressure. There's some people in here that don't need any training. I'm just saying. Some of y'all.
I don't know. We can all learn something. That's the beauty of all this collaboration.
True. That is true.
Whether you've been in the business, 3 months or 20 years, there's always something to learn, and we can learn from each other. I learn from newer agents all the time because sometimes they have a different approach of doing something that maybe I've just been in a rut of doing something the same way for a long time, and so there's a lot for all of us to learn from each other. So that's the beauty and the value in things like this. So before Rebecca gets started with giving us her golden nuggets on doing open houses this morning, I'll let our wonderful sponsors come up and say a word or two. Jacob, you want to kick it off? We've got Jacob Vale with the Vale Agency with Alpha Insurance.
Yeah, hey, so I know most of you in here, I guess it's fitting for me to have some kind of slogan.
I like your pink sweater.
Funny or witty that you try to say. I'm not really good at that stuff, but we want to scratch that itch that you have of insurance when your clients. So if you have questions, everybody but you gets that because you don't have a back scratcher in front of you.
I will demonstrate.
Yeah, this right here. And listen, we don't ever expect.
I washed it this morning.
I wouldn't.
Okay, give Mackenzie a new one. I need one anyway.
Got any hand sanitizer? So we don't have to get your client's business. We don't have to get your business. We want to be a resource if you ever need anything. All of our team is licensed. We are the largest independent alpha agency in the state, and there's a reason for that, and it's not just because we bought a big book of business. We've grown to that by taking care of our clients, and so we do a lot of free work for people all the time. And if you have a question about insurance, you have a question about contract, Chad probably blows me up more, if not than anybody. Hey, tell me about this, tell me about that. Please call us. We want to be a resource.
I think I've blown all three of y'all up this week on different things.
Do y'all mind sharing that? I didn't.
It is perfectly
I just
fine.
kind of brought one to the table.
But questions about a flood policy, questions about insurance, is this rate astronomical high? Yeah, probably so. All insurance rates are high right now. But is there something better out there? Call me. We can sure try to help you, guide you. It's a question about an alpha policy. We can see everything that's an alpha. We have a lot of other carriers we use besides alpha. But anyway, we just want to be a resource to you. A lot of you have called me. We work with a lot of different agents. I work with somebody's husband in the room here from time to time, so we'll talk back and forth. And so we have a lot of contacts in the business. We can't help you. We don't know the answer. We can find it for you. So let us know if we can ever be a resource for you.
Cool.
Easy enough.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people we don't advertise it. We have the largest independent brokerage in the state. It's called Alpha Agency, and so we write with a lot of carriers. I don't like to when I don't have to, mainly because if I have a claim, I want it to be with Alpha. I've had probably 2 issues in 13 years with an Alpha claim, ever. And with other carriers, it's 50-50. So,
Well, and that's when it doesn't matter how low your premium is if they don't pay the claim.
Right.
yeah. So, but yeah, we do. We don't advertise that like in printed form or anything, but we got a lot of carriers we work with. So we can shop stuff and work with stuff outside of the Alpha brand as well. So
I'm not standing this close to you because I'm in love with you. We're recording this morning, and I want your commercial to be on the.
I was looking at that going.
I want your commercial to be on it
or something. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
I'm going to let Gary hold it.
Well,
I
let
just
me
thought
talk
about it
to-
after you started talking, so I was like, let me cuddle with him.
Creepy, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, Jen's not here. I needed somebody to cuddle with.
Thanks for letting Gary know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I wish you'd told me when you started.
Well, I wanted to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, next up, we got Gary Eubanks from South Point. I'll let you hold on to
Hold the
that so I don't
microphone?
have to-
Okay, good. Did you just actually scratch your bare back with that right there,
Not my
McKenzie's?
bareback. It was through my-
It was a shirt. It was a shirt.
Oh, well, you could use that again then. You could use that.
You know, I don't want to make.
I thought you I was like, that you wouldn't do
It'd
that.
be grosser if I stuck the shoehorn part in my shoe.
Yeah, it would. So.
Chad's a generally clean guy.
He is. I'd use it probably, so.
I moved my weekly bath up to today instead of Saturday.
Good. Okay, all right. Well, I'm Gary Eubanks with South Point Bank. I know a lot of you as well. Let me piggyback real quickly on something Jacob just said. I've been doing this for about 100 years, and so I've just seen a lot of stuff, come through. And Chad does call me quite a bit and say, hey, I got this situation here. He called me, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Hey, I got this VA loan, the guy, and I think I'm going to have some escrow repair on these windows. Is that okay on VA? Those kind of questions. That
Yeah,
you just,
my concern was usually you got to get those repairs done before it closes on a VA or FHA, that the appraiser requires. And I was like, if this comes up 10 days before closing and we got to order some window sashes, how we handle that to not delay closing?
Right.
And that's why I called him as a disinterested party. Because I
Yeah.
don't want to tip off the lender that's involved with the situation.
yeah,
There
right,
might
right.
be issues.
right. But those kind of questions are, I'd love for you to call me. If I don't know the answer, I'll find out the answer, okay? So feel free to always do that, okay? No problem with that at all. So real quickly, I want to mention one thing today that may or may not be of real use to you. I don't know. Actually, two things. One thing is our grant program is back. We started it 4 days ago. They opened it back up 4 days ago, February 4th. And so they have $39 million in the fund this year for grants. So, and South Point can do 750,000 of it. All right, so that's plenty. That's plenty for the year. So those are $12,500 grants for first-time home buyers, or $15,000 grants. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer, but you have to be like a veteran or a school teacher or a healthcare worker, something like that. Okay, so those grants are open. I know probably most of you have heard about that. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. The other thing,
What's the definition of first-time buyer?
someone has not owned a house in 3 years. That's our definition of first-time home buyer. Okay. What's that? There are income limits on it based on the amount of people in the household. So it ranges from like 50-something thousand for one person up to 90-something thousand for, okay?
Conventional only, or is it?
What's that?
Conventional only?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Can put it with a VA, a USDA, a FHA, conventional, whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay? Great question. All right.
In
Yes.
order for them to qualify for that particular grant, if they've already gotten financing through another lender, can they, or does it have?
Oh,
to
no.
go to South Point?
Got to be with us. Got to be with us. We're not greedy, but we're a little more greedy than that. So okay, all right. So yeah, they have to do the first mortgage with us to get it. Yeah. So good question. I'm going to mention one other thing that may or may not be applicable for folks in here, but I just want to mention it. We've got a community reinvestment program right now that's unbelievable, really. If you have a listing or a buyer that's buying in certain areas of Birmingham, downtown, Bessemer, Centerpoint, Hueytown, Pleasant Grove, all those areas, some of Leeds, all those areas right there, then we have a loan that is literally at 1 point below the market right now. I just locked somebody at 5 7/8 yesterday on a 30-year fixed. Okay? Rates right now, that same person would have been at 6 7/8 yesterday on a normal lock anywhere else. But the property was in the CRA area, and I was able to get them 5 7/8 yesterday. Okay? There are no income limits on it, no nothing. As long as the property's in the CRA area, you're good.
Does that have to be a primary residence?
It's got to be a primary residence. That does have to be a primary residence, yes. I know where you're going with that. It's a great question, okay? All right, I should have mentioned that first for you. So, but primary residence, but as long as it's in the CRA area, it's unbelievable. I mean, the people were like, what? You can lock it what? And I said 5 7/8 yesterday, yes.
What is the CRA area?
I can get, if you want to text me or email me, okay, I'll be happy to send you the area. It's a shaded area, okay?
It kind of follows 2059.
Yeah, it does.
So it goes like Bessemer through downtown, although it kind of excludes downtown specifically. Bessemer, downtown,
Right.
up towards like Pinson area.
Pinson, Pleasant Grove, that area. Yeah, it doesn't go as far as
What does
Gardendale.
initial stand for?
What's that? Community Reinvestment Act. okay, areas, okay? So, I mean, if it's in that area, that's the product right there. You're not getting any better. And that's 5 7/8 with no discount yesterday. It's not like we were paying points to get there. That's just what the rate was, okay? And there actually is no hit for rate for credit score. Like there normally is on a conventional loan, the lower the score, the higher the rate's gonna be. On that product, if you qualify, 620 credit score. If you qualify for the loan, it's approved, same rate, okay? So it's a great product, all right? Just want to mention that real quickly, all right? Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary. And our breakfast is courtesy of Mr. Brian Nelson with Double Oak Artworks, our photographer, videographer extraordinaire.
I am 5 pounds heavier because y'all didn't eat enough magic muffins yesterday. Remember, my family's gluten-free, so I'm the only person that can eat the leftovers, so eat it, please. But I do support small businesses, so the food is from Magic Muffins down at Cava Heights. We got muffin tops and savory biscuits, and coffee service is from Baba Java. They got several locations, one right down the road in Meadowbrook. Orange juice is from Publix. They're not local, but it was convenient. I do real estate photography and marketing. I'll keep it simple. I don't have any grants or programs or anything like that. But I've got several clients in here, and I've maybe got a few future clients in here too. So I'm going to hang out afterwards as much as I can. I do got shoots in Tuscaloosa this afternoon, so I'm going to have to hit the road. But I do have business cards back there. So if I don't talk to you, grab a business card, shoot me a text, follow me on Instagram. All my stuff's there, so you can see everything I do. Latest project, that sort of thing. But we'd love to work with you and make your listing shine. My job is to tell the story of your listing, make sure people fall in love with it online, so they'll come look at it and get it sold for you. So look forward to working with you. Thanks,
He
John.
also happens to be one of the nicest guys ever,
Well,
too.
you know, I have my moments.
He is pretty cool. All right, so next up we have got the great Rebecca McCalman with Team Taylor at eXp, and she has...
I'm going to tell my teenager somebody called me great today.
You should do that. It's
I'm
on
going
it's on
to.
video too.
I'm going to.
But she's going to talk to us about her approach to open houses because we are in open house season. Mary Martin held one in the rain last Sunday and had about 8 different groups come through on a nasty Sunday. And listen, some of that is location dependent because Erica held one the same day down in off the beaten path in Chelsea and didn't have anybody show up. So that's how it goes. Well, listen, and I will say that open houses are a consistency over time thing. If you do enough of them, you are going to get business out of them. But you can't just take the one and done approach and go, I did one and nobody showed up. I'm not doing that anymore. Because there will be days that you sit there and maybe you get caught up on emails and nothing else. Or in Erica's case, she just got a couple of hours, of peace and quiet that she never gets. But then other days you might have a few people show up, and you might have a couple that show up that don't have an agent, and you build a relationship with them. So we're going to talk a little about that, and then I'm going to pick on Cruz a little bit in a little while.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear.
He
Yeah,
also
I
has
love it.
an approach to open houses
I love it.
that's a little bit different, and it's been working for him. So
Yeah.
If y'all have questions during all of this will be somewhat interactive. So try to raise your hand, and I'll come to you with the microphone. So because we're recording this, so that you can go back and watch it later, or others that couldn't come can see
Raise
it.
your hand.
And we'll I'll bring it to you.
love
Raise your back scratcher. Make sure you get Alpha Insurance very clear for the camera.
Hey, I was going to say, in case Gary has to leave, because one of my tips for open house, so I'll just say this now, having someone from the mortgage business, inviting them to come participate with you in your open house is huge. It's so helpful. I mean, look at all the information he gave us in 3 minutes. And it's so nice to have them there, because while you're, meeting and greeting and all that, he or she can be given some incredibly valuable information, maybe pre-qualifying somebody. And it also too kind of elevates you as providing that service of, wow, I mean, I gained a lot from this open house. So I was going to say that before, in case you had to leave. So it's huge. So, but thank you. But yeah, my name is Rebecca McCalman. I'm on Team Taylor. I'm with eXp. I have been in the business for a very long time. And the bulk of my business, though, I was in new construction. So I worked for D.R. Horton for 15 years. I worked for Signature for a small amount of time. And so that's, I'm sure, where my love for open houses developed, because I was basically doing an open house every day working in a model home. So it kind of comes second nature to me. And it also falls in line that this is just my favorite part of real estate. Is just, I love to develop in relationships. I love to wrap my arms around people. I just like it. So some of the stuff that I'm going to tell y'all today is like very, very basic, but I don't, know some of y'all may have never done an open house. Some of you may have only done a few. It may be intimidating. So I'm going to go deep down into just very basics for a short period of time. Please raise your hand, all that. And then I'll dive a little bit deeper with some tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, some of y'all in here are very experienced. So if you have something that's working for you, please interject, raise your hand, because what I'm showing you today is just what works for me. I'm an individual. I'm not a professional. It's just over time. These are some of the things for me being consistent that have been good for me. You have to develop it and kind of make it your own and fine tune it. So you have to be comfortable. So anybody have any questions or anything so far? Okay, perfect. We're just going to get down to, like I said, very basics. I have kind of created a little open house checklist for you. One of the first things you want to do when you've scheduled an open house, whether it's your own or another agent, I did one this past Sunday too. It was one of Drew's listings. He did it on Saturday and I did it on Sunday. One of the first things that you want to do is create and post to social media, and then also share to your sphere of influence. I suggest, if you've got your database in your phone or whatever, even if you know that your client just closed on a house a week ago, send them the fact that you're doing an open house, because I'll say, hey, do you know anybody, have any friends or family that's looking? But it also too keeps them, it keeps you in front of mind and lets them know that, hey, you're a busy person. So I encourage you to do that. Create and deliver open house invites at least 2 days before open house. I do most of my stuff from Canva. Does a lot of people in here use Canva? Yeah, I've just kind of played around with it and kind of figured out some stuff on my own. But on each table I put a copy of an invite that we did, and so for that particular one, it was one that Drew and I did together. But I door knock as much as possible. So last Tuesday and Wednesday, we hit 150 doors. Now, I don't always knock.
That's aggressive.
I don't always knock on the door. So I was in Inverness. There's no short, these houses are off the street and all that kind of stuff. And I was during a time of day when I didn't door knock that day. But I went and delivered, we went and delivered these to 150 mailboxes. Some people don't like doing that. They feel like they're going to get in trouble or a homeowner's going to get mad at them. I live in Lake Wilburn, so I literally, the front door's from here to Mary Martin, and so I can hit on the doorknobs really quickly. But I look at it this way, and all the time that I've done this, I never have had anyone call me up and say, don't ever leave something on my door, don't leave something on my mailbox, because I'm really not soliciting business. Not saying that it won't happen.
No, listen, it was, I put something, it was years ago, we for years have sponsored a neighborhood garage sale in Chelsea Park, and in the early days getting information out about that. We'd go around the neighborhood and pass out little flyers on it. Well, we got one year we were putting it all on the front doors, but like you said, some of the houses, their distance between the houses and you got to get a ways to the front door. Well, we started putting them on the mailbox. Well, there's always the one guy in a neighborhood was, just raking me over the coals, threatening to call the postmaster, that it was a federal offense to tamper with a mailbox and all this sort of stuff. So we just stopped giving him one. So.
Yeah, and honestly, it can happen. Yeah. And I will tell you, if I ever put it on the doorknob and it's a Ring doorbell, I kind of wave and then walk away. There's a couple reasons why I do this. Back to that though. I look at it this way. I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm literally
That's what I told this guy. It's not a solicitation. It's a service for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm inviting you to something.
So do you put that on the mailbox?
Either one, like, like a lot of the mailboxes that in Inverness, they have like a little hook on them, Now, some of them I kind of opened up the mailbox and kind of stuck it, but I didn't fully open up anybody's mailbox and put this in a mailbox. I did not. So it's either going to go on a doorknob or a mailbox. But I do it for a couple of reasons. One, because I want to get my name out there and I want to see people think, well, she's working hard, Two, I really want the neighbors to come. They could be a potential client. They're the best way to get feedback about the community. There's been several times where I've had a homeowner in there and then, a visitor in there, and they've asked me something and they've interacted and said, oh, well, we love the neighborhood. We, just whatever. So, if at all possible, I think it's really important to get that out there and invite people. And it's just nice because a lot of times they will show up, and a lot of neighbors want to come. They want to see what their neighbor's house looks like. You've just taken the awkwardness out of it by doing that, because they're
about the neighborhood that your sellers don't even know.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I'm a big firm believer, even if you can hit 10 doors on each direction, you don't have to do 150, but whatever you can do, I highly suggest that you do it. So one of them is that schedule a preview showing 2 days prior to open house. Really not necessary if it's your listing and you know what it looks like, but if you are holding it open for someone else, I really highly suggest that you go in there and look at it. It's another set of eyes. I did an open house for someone about 3 weeks ago, and I was not able to go in there before it. And had I probably would have said to that agent, I don't think you should hold it open. Like, I just don't think you should. Painters had just been in there. It was dusty. It just was, they had plugged air fresheners in there, and like it was just like smelt like just a perfume factory when you walked in. So bad on me though, because I didn't go in there. So it was a really good lesson for me to go in there. But so you just want to go in a couple reasons. Obviously you want to get a lay of the land. You want to kind of just not feel so uncomfortable and new on Sunday, but also too, if there are some things that need attention, you want to get that handled quickly, so you don't want any surprises when you walk in on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, the world's worst is the hot summer day and you go to hold the open house and realize that the upstairs AC quit working. So, and I've learned my lesson more than a few times by not doing it. So that's why it's on the sheet. So, again, if it's not this more so, if it's your listing, you should probably already know the age of the mechanicals, all of any recent updates and all that. But if it's not yours, this is the majority of the questions that happen. They want to know the age of the roof. They want to know the age of the mechanicals. They want to know why the seller's moving for whatever reason. My favorite question.
Yeah, they do. If it's, if you're able to say it. But, like sometimes I just say, I'm not real sure, But if you can get a copy of the survey,
My favorite answer for that is the ghost started getting aggressive.
Right. That's a good one if you don't like the agent that you're holding the open house with. No, I'm just kidding. But for instance, like Drew's listing, you could see like Spain Park High School was like back in the back, and I got a lot of questions of how far does this property go back? So just having all that information, a copy of the survey. So I have my, our sellers print out for the MLS. I have that sheet with me at all times. And then we have an open house flyer that I'll have at the open house, but I also print out the customer page in MLS. I don't just hand that out and leave that out, but if somebody is wanting some more detailed information, I'll hand that out. I'll hand that out to them. And then, like I said, I've got, if it's my listing and there's covenants and restrictions, I always have those printed out and have them in a 3-ring binder, and that stays in the house at all times anyways, but I have all that, kind of stuff. You also want to know, the area. What are the schools? What's the closest, shopping? Are there any new developments, any new parks coming? You just want to be equipped with all that, because you're going to get asked. And, there have been times before where I've had to text an agent and say, because it's a new question, but, and stuff that I needed to know. But the more you are prepared, because you will get asked those questions. Oh, and then purchase snacks and drinks for the open house. This sounds very elementary, but I little bottles of water, anything that your budget allows for. It's nice to have something there. I'm super frugal, so I'm always gonna, like, if I'm in Costco and Skinny Pop is $4 off a box, I'll load up on that because it'll keep for a long time. This past weekend, there were a couple different chocolate covered pretzels at Costco and they were on sale. So I had gotten some, I'd ordered some little bags from Amazon, and I packaged them up and tied strings, and it looked super cute. But I always kind of try to do everything on a budget, but you need to have something. I'm very old school. I actually took some pictures of what we did at our open house last Sunday, so I have those if you want to see those. And then put out open house signs as early as the community will allow. Sometimes it's only Friday, it's from Friday to Sunday, but as early as you can, put them out. Even if you are, again, holding it open for an agent, you can put your signs out too. Sometimes too, when I'm doing them for Drew, he'll have a sign and I'll have a sign. So all that needs to be done before the open house. Anybody have any questions about any of that stuff? Very basic information, but I keep one of these little, I have this little crate that I keep in my office, and I'm going to just tell you just very basic information. So in that crate, I have frames, I have business cards, I have clipboards, I have a little emergency kit with toilet paper, tissue paper, trash bag, rubber gloves. I keep all of that right there because, again, you never know, especially if you're going into a vacant house. So I also suggest that you kind of create yourself an open house box, and then that way you're always ready. You're always ready to go. So
one of those small little lightweight vacuums too, just in case.
That's a great idea. Yeah, you just don't know, and I don't want to go digging in the seller stuff for something that I might need. So I kind of keep my whole little kit, and other than, if somebody said hey, can you do an open house tomorrow? I'm ready to go, other than I've got to go do, a sign and that kind of stuff, but I don't have to think about what kind of snacks am I going to have? It's done and I'm ready. So, so the day of the open house, add balloons to your open house. I suggest arriving, 30 minutes before, 15 minutes at a minimum, give you time to turn on lights. Just kind of do a walkthrough through the house, check yourself. And then it gives you time to, I always do a quick little video and post it to Instagram. I'll do the open house setup and I'll post it to Instagram. Put out all your marketing materials. And then, the open house begins. Have fun, try to engage with as many people as you can. And we'll get into a little bit more detail about how to work that stuff. So, and then after the open house, lock up all the doors before you leave. And what I do also too, just for safety reason, when it's time for me to go, I go ahead and lock all the doors, and then I turn off all the lights in the house. I pack up my stuff and go out that way. If you're able to, leave a thank you note for the seller and just say, hey, thanks for letting me hold the open house. It was great, that kind of thing. And, like Drew, he came at the end of the open house and we still had some snacks left, so we left a couple things for, the seller. So, remove the open house sign and balloons. Be a good steward of that. If the signs are supposed to be down on the balloons, just take them down, and then follow up with all your contacts. And then the great thing is that when the home is sold, all those people that you did door knocking to, do another flyer and send it to them and say, because they've already seen your name, and so it's a great way to kind of market to those people again. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to dive a little bit deeper then. So that was very, very basic information on just the very basics. So, like we were saying, especially this time when a lot of people have been, slow right now, and, there are some people that are nervous about what's my business looking like. Doing an open house is a great way to get in front of people, to market yourself, to keep yourself motivated. They are the best way, and then to get contacts too. Because anybody that walks in that door is now your contact. Whether they have an agent or not, it's somebody that you've met and, like I said, neighbor's house that you've hit. So that's the best way if you don't even have, if you have a large database or if you don't. I mean, it's an instant way to get people immediately. So, and I like it too because, if you're busy, I mean, it puts a whole lot of different people, different personalities in your face. And I mean, I use it to practice with people. I mean, because it just helps.
Yeah, well, it's also valuable with new and newer agents. It just gives you practice talking about real estate, answering questions, and just having those conversations so that then it just becomes second nature the more you practice that. So it gives you just kind of live bodies to practice on.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been plenty of times when I've, had somebody that's kind of difficult or off or whatever, and I do, it brings to mind of like, I need to work on that, or that was uncomfortable. How do I make that uncomfortable? So it's great. It really is. So I already said invite a local lender. I mean, a lot of them will do a rate sheet for you. Then they're going to put it out to their social media and their sphere of influence. So it's, double the marketing for you. So identify 3 key features of the home. Whether it be that day that you go preview it or if it's your listing, but just a minimum of 3 things that you really like about the home, just talking points. And then know the community. We already talked about that. Know the parks, know the shopping, schools, any new developments. They are looking to you when they walk in that door for you to be their resource about the home and about the community. I always have a pen and a notepad. It's very basic, but I always have that with me because if somebody says something, I'm horrible about remembering names. Like you can tell me your name, and 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, what is her name? And I'll have a notepad, and I mean, I may be talking to you, and I may be scribbling your name down, something like that. So if the visitors have kids, show interest in them. Like everybody loves for you to pay attention to their children. So I mean, if you guys walked in and you had your 2 little ones, I'm immediately going to try to engage with them. I'll say hi to you, but I may tell your daughter that is the cutest dress you have on, or if they're in sports gear, did you have a game today? Just engage because parents love it, and then that kind of lightens the mood. Lightens the mood. So when people walk into, extend gratitude to the visitors, letting them know, thank you for joining us today. Couple questions that I ask immediately is, are you currently on the lookout for a new home, or are you just looking? So immediately when they walk in the door, I'm going to introduce myself to them, and I'm going to ask that question. Just kind of lets me kind of know which direction, that we're going in. And if somebody says, oh yes, we're actively looking, then I know. And if they are seriously looking, my next question is going to be, how's it been going so far? Or how long have you been looking? I'm just trying to gauge how long have they been out there, in the market. If they're just looking for fun, I follow up with a statement that just kind of says, what piqued your interest in the home? I want to find out, why are you here? If you're just looking, what is it, why are you here? And then I always kind of say, I think there's going to be some things that you're really going to like about the home. Do not ignore the just looking folks, because some people clearly are just looking, but some people are just trying to get you to back away. Mm-hmm. So if you walked in, you came in for something. So I don't ignore those just looking folks, because there's a good chance that they're not just looking. So and then after you've introduced yourself, I ask a couple questions. I do try to position myself somewhere in the home where when somebody walks in, I'm somewhat, close by. I try not to be, right in their face when they walk in the door, but I mean, I would do if time permits, or if I'm not busy, I want to be there and I want to introduce myself, to them. So, again, I let them know that I'm excited for them to tour the home. I'll tell them some key features that they like, that I like about the home. Those are those 3 things that, and I'll say to them too, hey, I have a few favorite things about the home. I can't wait to find out if they're going to be your favorite things too. So that kind of gives me a reason to follow back up with them. I've kind of let them know that, hey, I'm going to talk to you again. So we use this clipboard. You can buy a pack of these clipboards for like super cheap, but obviously we all want feedback. That's what the seller wants, is that they want feedback. So I like to use these clipboards. It has, curb appeal bathrooms, location, kitchen value, and living room, and it's kind of scores 1 to 5. And I give this to them to say, hey, the seller has asked me to provide some feedback. Would you be so kind as to help me provide that feedback? And then I'm giving them this clipboard and I'm giving them a pen, and then I will send them on their way. So what that does is they got to come bring it back to me. Now I have had people like leave it somewhere and then, out the back door, kind of thing. But most people are kind and they're going to take the time to fill it out. I would say, some people may not put their name on there. And so a good thing to say is to say, hey, please know that I don't share your personal information with the seller. I'm really, just looking for that. That being said, though, a lot of times, like with open houses, it's good if you do some kind of a giveaway, $25 gift card, something like that. If it's in your budget, you don't have to. But for instance, like we had this past Sunday, and we were giving away a gift card. Now, we did generate a QR code if somebody wanted a QR code, and it was interesting. Drew, did you have anybody scan it on Saturday? Okay, yeah, I had, and he was slammed on Saturday. I was really busy on Sunday, and nobody used the QR code. So it was kind of nice that, because what you can say is too, in the kitchen, if they haven't filled this out, if they give it back to you or whatever, you can still say, hey, if you want to still be entered into the drawing, just scan the QR code. But I'll tell people too, hey, by filling this out too, you're also being entered into a drawing. We're giving away a gift card. So that kind of gives them a little bit of motivation as well, too. And this is just very simple too. It's a very simple way to get feedback. Does anybody else have any feedback forms that you've used before that have been really helpful?
Yeah, I think they're nice.
Do you have one that you use that people are, okay. Is it similar to that?
It's kind of the same.
Okay. Yeah, and if anybody wants this, like I'm happy to email that to you.
I like how it's really simple and they're just ranking different things 1 through 5, because when you ask people to, are you just putting a blank from the fill out stuff, they're just not going to do that typically.
No, they're not. And then please understand that, they're kind of subjective. Any kind of time you're getting feedback, it's subjective to that, to that individual. Yeah. They may say, they may give the value 1 because it's just they're looking way out of their price range or something like that. Right. So, it's subjective, but it does, like I said, it gives them a reason to come bring that back. Come bring that back to you.
Well,
it went to, we have a mynewbirminghamhome.com, and it took you to that page.
To leave their name and stuff.
And to leave their
like a landing page where they'd fill their stuff out.
Yeah. So
and really the point, I think, I've done open houses where I'm trying to gather information for it kind of feels like it's for myself. The kind of conversations that you have with people when you're in service of others is much different. So like when you're door knocking, you're in service of someone else. You're not there on your behalf. You're there on your neighbor's behalf. Here you're on behalf of the seller trying to get some feedback. And it's just a much more pleasant conversation than when you're trying to get information for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, like I said, wording it like that. Hey, the sellers asked for me to give them some feedback. Would you kindly help me provide that for them? I would. But you really do have to take the pressure off. Take the pressure off of it. It's just like when you walk into a store, and somebody immediately is like, "How can I help you?" And you're like, "Oh, wait a minute. I just want to go back and look at the jeans for a minute." You got to kind of, yeah.
I think the beauty too of if you've got people ranking and they rank, say, the living room a 2. And it's painted like shrimp colored or something. Well, that's just another opportunity for you to talk to that seller about, hey, the reason they're ranking it this way is we really need to address this paint thing, whether it's paint allowance or we go ahead and paint it or whatever. It just gives you ammunition coming from other people to have conversations that maybe you've already had with them, but then they're reinforced.
But it also says, hey, I didn't say this.
Right.
They did.
Yeah.
So I think that, when your seller is packing up their stuff and they're leaving the house for you on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, you obviously you're doing this for a reason, and you want to provide them as much information as possible. You want to let them know that it was a valuable thing for them, to leave the home, and that, so, and it just kind of helps strengthen their confidence in you that you've done this, because otherwise you've just let a lot of people in their house, and
So do you ask them when they mark something a 4 or 5? Do you even ask them about that, or you just ask about the lower ranking numbers they provide?
No, it really, and I don't, I'm going to come back to that when I start talking to them and kind of tell you the conversation that I may have with them. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to come to it. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, we already went over that. Okay. So once you've just asked them a few questions, like I said, you're handing the clipboard and then you're letting them go on their way. I have found that I have to be really careful not to kind of hold them hostage for very long, because they're here to look at the house, and the longer you kind of keep them standing there, you're going to frustrate them. Like, let them go. And I will say that there are times when people have walked in the door, and just by their body language, just by whatever, I know that I got to do this really quick, I just do. And if it's busy and I didn't get to see somebody come walk in the door, I will very nonchalantly, when I have a minute, kind of go find them in the home and just say, hey, I'm so sorry I didn't get to meet you. I'm Rebecca McCalman. What's your name? And, I'm so glad that you're here. Do you have any questions so far? And if they don't, then you can kind of say, hey, here's a clipboard. Do you mind filling that out? And, I can't wait to follow up with you. I typically don't follow people around the house. I just don't. I like for them to go on their way. If it is kind of a quiet open house and somebody's there, I'll just try to position myself in the home where they can kind of see me, and they know that if they have questions, I'm there. Or if they're walking from the back of the house, I may say, hey, did you like that master bath? And just kind of ask them, and just stay engaged with them, so they know that you're there. So when they're done touring the home and you've identified them, if you've identified them as a buyer or seller and they're not working with an agent, that's when you got to build rapport, and you got to do it. You got to do it pretty quickly. You don't want to drag it out. So the quickest way is, the quickest way to find out if you have a chance to pick them up as a buyer is ask them, who's helping you with your home search? Just asking them if they have an agent. I could quickly tell you I have an agent. Yeah, sure, I do, because I don't want you to bug me. Not saying that they're lying if they say they have an agent, but if I say, are you currently, if I just say, who's helping you with your home search, they got to say something. I mean, and typically, when somebody says a name and they say it quick, then I'm like, okay, they have an agent. However, there's a lot of times where somebody will say it's a couple, and I'm making eye contact with, the wife, and she'll say to the husband, hey, what's his name? And so I kind of know that, okay, well, they're not real attached. Or if somebody says, my cousin's in the business, again, I still am like, yeah, they may not fully be there. They may not fully be there. So, and then if it's a potential seller, I'll say, who's the agent who will be selling your home? Again, I'm asking a name. I'm not asking if you have one. I'm asking for a name, because that's how I'm going to know if I can possibly pick you up. I do want to say something real quick too. I'll come back to it, but some suggested questions too to start engaging with them is, and I've just kind of got these out. Where do you live? Where do you work? What do you like to do for fun? Do you have family or friends in the area? And these are just suggested questions. Do you need to sell your current home before you move into a new one? That's a crucial one right there. It's a really important question. I mean, that would be one of them. If I only had like 3 questions to ask, that would be one of them.
What's your credit score?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
No, it is true. And I also too kind of ask people too, because if somebody's thinking about selling, there is a current pain that they have. or they wouldn't be looking. So I kind of ask them, what's got you thinking that it's time to make a move? I want to identify, is the home too small? Are you having to downsize? I'm trying to figure out where their pain is. Because some people, it's an immediate, like, we got to find something now. And sometimes it's like, well, we're just thinking about, so it's going to help me kind of determine their motivation, how quickly that they want to move. Any questions? I'm probably going really fast. But these, like I said, these questions, again, you want to move quickly, you want to build rapport, and you want to try to get just some key information as quick as you can, because you don't want to, the goal is just for you to engage with them enough, build enough rapport that when they walk out the door, you're going to be able to connect with them. But like I said, most people don't, they didn't walk in the open house planning on having a 30-minute conversation with an agent. They didn't plan on that. So just remember that. Like, I want to build rapport with them. I want to give them some value enough to where I can follow up and say, is it okay if I follow up with you? So just remember that, because like I said, people get turned off really easy. And I think even more so nowadays, because, people have less and less face-to-face stuff. So some people are just uncomfortable with it, and I try not to be so much where they're just like, I gotta back away, this is a lot. If time permits, though, you'll be able to tell. I mean, we all are people, we're all good with people. You can kind of get a good read. But if you are having some good, bouncing back and they're seeming engaged, I mean, keep on with the questions. You'll kind of get a feel for, when it's enough. But you can start asking them, if you have the time, like, what their budget is, what their time frame is. Ask who their lender is. If somebody says that they're, looking in the $300,000 price range, I'll say, who's helped you determine that budget? Who is it? Yeah. If they just say, well, I've, been keeping up with my credit score, or I've been, pulling it or whatever, that's great. I mean, that lets me know that they are concerned. But it also, I talked to some folks on Sunday, and she had said that they had been with another lender, and I said, she said, we got pre-approved. I said, when did you get pre-approved? And she said, well, last summer. We're not in the same game that we were last summer. So I said, hey, it's probably time for you to have that conversation again. The market's a little bit different, still a great time to buy, but it's probably good to, get pre-approved again. So, and then so you definitely want to find out kind of when they did that, because we're in a different season right now. So, and if they haven't worked with an agent, if they're not working with an agent, I do ask, like, how long have they been looking? And if they say, well, we've been looking for the past 6 months, I'll ask them, like, have you missed out on anything? Has there been a house that you had fallen in love with that you missed out on? Have you written any offers? To kind of just find out a little bit. Now, if you don't have time to talk to them during that time, those are really good questions to ask when you have that follow-up conversation with them. You got to start digging, deep. These are probably things that you guys already know. So, like I said, you'll be able to tell when it's time to wrap up. If the visitor has an agent, and this is good, there's still somebody that you still want to engage with. And I find a lot of people of, like, if somebody tells you have an agent, they just move on. They just walk away and, like, well, they have an agent. Still engage with them. You don't know what that relationship is. You do not know what that relationship is. I mean, I just talked to a lady 2 weeks ago on the phone, and she's been working with this agent for over a year. She can't stand her. Like, she can't stand her. She's doing a total disservice to her, but she feels obligated. Like, I feel so bad. She showed me so many homes, and I had to kind of walk her through that. And of course, obviously, as an agent, we have to be careful, but don't let that turn you off to just say, well, I have an agent. Still engage with them. And if you've built up enough rapport, a couple things can happen. One, they can get in the car and go, God, I like her. I really kind of like her. Let's, give her a shot. They may not have signed a buyer broker at that point. Not to say that you still can't get them if they signed a buyer broker. But I also, too, tell them. I mean, I give them my card and say, hey, if your situation changes and you need an experienced real estate agent, please feel free to call me, or Gosh, even if you just need to know a repairman's name, I have all that stuff. And then I also say to them too, look, if you have a friend or a family member that, is looking, I'd love for you to refer me to them. So that is still a way to follow up with them. It's still a way to send them a thank you note and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you. Good luck with your home search. Do please, again, keep my name in front of you if, you know somebody that's looking.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, please.
So, another little trick that I've learned when someone says that they have an agent, and it only works in some cases, but if they say, we do have an agent, we've been looking for a while, we're trying to find a 3-2 in Chelsea Park, and this one's not it, but, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's a couple that I know of that are off market or that are coming soon. I don't lie. Like, I only say that if I really do know. But I'm like, but, just have Rebecca call me when y'all leave the open house, and I'll fill her in on all that info. And then that will kind of determine how serious they are with that agent, because there have been so many times where they've been like, well, we haven't talked to Rebecca in like 6 months, actually.
That's
so can
great.
you just tell us, because that's a good way. If you kind of leave it where like, leave them wanting more, but I'm going to respect you've got a relationship with her. Just have her call me.
That's a golden tip. Like, that's
works.
really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a
It shows
really
them
good tip.
that, the market. It shows them, because, I've run into so many buyers that they think because we're a realtor, we've got this underground layer of listings, and sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. But if you can, say, I've actually, I know someone on that street who's been thinking about selling, I'm happy to connect your agent with them and get the ball rolling on that. And then, if they're not serious about that relationship, they're going to be like, gimme, and then you've got it.
Oh yeah, and I think what that demonstrates too, like she said, hey, I'm fully respectful of the fact that you've got an agent, and then that kind of takes their guard down of like, she's not trying to get my business, she literally is just trying to help me. And so that's golden, like that's really good, and that is, that is exactly what you want to present yourself as, is that, you're not this piranha trying to get them, like you really are, you love what you do and you want to help people. That is a great tip.
Well, and if I pick up on that they really do have an agent that they're connected with, then I want to know who that agent is, because after that open house, I'm going to follow up with that agent and go, hey, your clients, John and Mary, came through my open house today. I just want to let you know, in case they don't mention it, they seem to like it. You might want to follow up with them.
Yeah.
And agents appreciate that.
And I think that's another golden too, because, we talk about all the time how like, agents want to work with agents that they like. And even just giving that, like that courtesy call, like you said, agents really appreciate it. And you never know when you're going to come in contact with that agent. They may have a listing that you have a buyer for. And
it builds trust.
Just
with
the
other
simple
agents,
fact
that you're
of
not
their
out there
like,
trying to poach their clients. And,
yes. Again, it takes people's guard down a lot, because a lot of agents do send their buyers. I mean, if a house is open, if I have a client and I really am like busy during an open house, but I do have enough rapport with them, I'm okay with them I'm okay with them going to an open house. But that is absolutely golden. I did put on here just like a fair housing tip, just to be on the lookout. Like anytime somebody does come into an open house, and I had this drilled in my head working for a builder. If somebody walks in, if you offer something to one person, offer it to everybody. I haven't heard of anybody getting shopped in a long time. Has anybody come into any kind of anything lately? Mm-hmm. Anybody? No. Just be on the lookout. I always am trying to be very conscientious of.
Yeah, you got to treat the guy that rolls up in the beat up 1982 Datsun the same as the guy that rolls up in the brand new BMW.
You can't curbside qualify. Can't do it. No. Millionaires drive beat up cars. Yep. The goal, the whole reason why you do an open house is to hone your skills, but to build your database, to get prospects, to pick up those buyers and sellers. And the more people that you come in contact with, if you don't have a big sphere of influence, or you're trying to build your business, or even if you have a huge business, this is the best way to meet people face to face. Yes, cold calling, all that stuff works. But this is just immediately you get people in your face. They see you. They get a good read on you, and it's the best way. And I think Chad kind of touched upon, you're going to have open houses sometimes that you're not going to have anybody walk in the door. And those are real easy for you to go, I've done 3 open houses and they've all been dead. I'm not doing open houses anymore. They don't work. I'm from the mindset if I do 10 open houses and on the 10th one, I pick up a buyer or seller, it was worth every minute of it, And it's funny too, because when I am doing open houses, like I'll have friends and they'll be like, "Oh, you are so busy," and I'm like, "Glad you think so." Glad it appears that way.
Well, and that's the beauty of what you were talking about earlier about that when you get there, you'll do a little video of your setup and everything. It's another. I mean, you're not likely to have anybody show up to that open house that afternoon from what you just posted. But what it does is it tells everybody that's following you that you're a busy realtor and you're out there doing something. And so that's just another thing for them to just have in their mind that when they get ready, they're like, "Dang, Rebecca's just blowing it up out there."
And I would say everything that you're laying out. If you want to waste your time, do what I did when I first started doing open houses. I make a Facebook post, I put out a few signs, I show up at a house, and I'm not prepared. I just wasted 2 hours of my life because I wasn't prepared the way that you're talking about being prepared. When you prepare this way, you are professional, and any interactions that you have, you're going to maximize. So this is the way to come off the correct way and not waste your time.
Yeah. And I mean, and really, in all reality, I mean, the likelihood, this is going to sound negative, and it's actually contradictory because one of the visitors that came into Drew's listing on Saturday are the ones that are under contract. So that does happen, but a lot of times it does. That's not who is going to buy the house. So just know that. I mean, obviously your goal is to sell that house, but just keep in mind that that's
statistically it's not likely to happen.
Statistically, it's not. Drew's listing was super, super hot. He knew it was going to sell. It was going to sell. Immediately. Is there anybody in here that has never done an open house? You haven't done one. Now, have you? I'm going to ask you something personal. You can tell me to shut up. So, have you not done one? Because maybe you haven't, and I apologize because we haven't met. But are you avoiding them, or you just haven't had an opportunity to do one?
Well, I've joined an open house with an agent, so I just started.
Okay. Yeah. Well, good. Well, hey.
I've been on 2, but I haven't done my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and if it makes you nervous, I mean, I bet any agent in this room, including myself, if you ever want to come to an open house and hang out with one of us, I mean, come on, because sometimes that helps too, because there's just this anxiety of I don't know what to say, I'm gonna mess up. You're not gonna mess up. Yeah. You are not gonna mess up if you know the basic information about the home, and you have a sweet face. You probably never meet a stranger. You're going to be totally fine. And the more you do them, like I said, the more confident that the more confident that you have. I don't get it. I mean, none of us get it right every time, so don't freak out about it. But seriously, give me your card next time I do one in the next couple weeks. Whatever, I'll let you know if you want to just, come and do it. And then also too, go ahead.
So I just want to say something real quick. So I had a listing a couple of years ago, and I did 5 open houses, weekend after weekend. I believed in this house. I knew it was a great house. About. Yeah.
Off of 119?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the area, the schools were not what everybody was looking for, but it was a really nice house. So consistently I did that and ended up me-opping.
That's awesome.
So, and to say, they did have an agent that never followed up. So they ended up using me, and it was a great experience. So just to say, it does happen.
And sometimes you're going to hold open houses that are...
Be persistent.
Yeah, and sometimes we're going to hold not so pretty open houses. I mean, we just do.
Hey, people buy ugly houses all the time.
Yes.
They 100% do, and you don't know the person that's walking in there. I mean, you may be holding open a $100,000 home, and you never know. An investor may walk in. That may be your client. Totally off the subject, but I was going to say too, if I'm going to be in a vacant house, I have a little bar stool that I keep in the back of my car too, to just have a place to plop down if I need,
Having somewhere to sit is good.
Sit on the counter. Does anybody
I thought you were going to say
you
carry a portable bar in your car. I was.
Oh, and no, another thing that I do too is I always use my computer at open house. I will use my hotspot for my phone and turn on my computer, and then I have a little Bluetooth speaker. That kind of helps too when it's like dead silent in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, like if it's a football game or whatever, and I personally know the seller, or a golf tournament, I may say to the seller, "Hey, when you leave the house, will you turn on the Masters, because I kind of like that playing in the background or something." But having some kind of noise kind of helps a lot. So, but I hope that y'all want to start going to the open houses. Go ahead.
One thing I know that sometimes people don't mention is that the safety part of hosting an open house. I just remember that initially when I first started, I would have another agent there with me when I host that, because a seasoned agent was telling me how there was a concern for safety, but that's not something that we always think about, because we're excited about the open house. But in a situation where there is a safety concern, I think that's something we should also always have on our radar. That particular couple that she was talking about was following, people on social media, knowing where the open houses were. And they were not, here in the state of Alabama. They were traveling around, and so I was thinking to myself, someone who didn't even consider that and how that could be an issue. So that's something that I'm always mindful of, with just being the safety part of it.
100%. And honestly, I apologize, because that should always be brought up. And I will tell you, if I'm at an open house and I'm by myself, and I shouldn't, but if a male walks in and he's by himself, I literally will go plant myself at the front door. Yeah. But now I'm going to act busy. I'm not going to act like I'm just but I am going to be guarded. And then a couple other things too, that depending on how the driveway is and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times what I'll do, if I'm not parked on the street, if I am in the driveway, I didn't do it. I mean, if I know them, but a good tip is to back into the driveway.
So you can run over a fool on the way out.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, if you're in a vacant home, I mean, that is, because I did that. I was in a vacant home Sunday, and that's what I did. I pulled in backwards so I could go.
Yeah.
Well, vacant or not, you're there by yourself, and
You
unfortunately, ladies have to be more concerned about this than guys do, but guys have to be aware too. I mean, there was a guy in Montgomery that was murdered a few years back. I don't know that it was an open house, but in a situation where somebody called him or something. But a couple of just quick tips is try not to ever let anybody get between you and a way out of the house. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you're backing in, and always have your cell phone in your hand. Don't leave it on the kitchen counter and be in the upstairs bedroom somewhere. So that you could quickly, and then make sure that somebody knows that you're doing the open house and that you're by yourself, and so either they're checking in with you or maybe you're checking with them every now and then, letting them know that everything's cool. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll even say too, I'll say to my husband sometimes to just say, hey, if I text you and say call me, just call me. Because I'm just telling him, I'm just wanting to go, oh, hey, honey, how are you? Everything's going great at the open house. Yeah. Use smart practices. It's not just
and
men.
listen, the board offers several times a year agent safety classes.
Absolutely.
David Lucas teaches one, and he's a former cop, and so I would advise everybody, do something like that, because that's good stuff to be aware of.
You do get busy, and your mind is not there until it's.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say too, it isn't on any of this material, I don't believe, but when you do, if it's your seller or however, you do want to make sure that medicines aren't, in the open, kind of thing. And if you arrive at the open house, if you arrive at the open house and you see some of that stuff, either text or call the agent whose listing it is, or you take it upon yourself to move it and let the seller know, hey, I saw this and this is where I put it for your safety. I got it out of the way.
And listen, I've been doing this for over 26 years. I've never had a problem with something disappearing out of one of my listings, but I have heard of it happening. So you have to think about that. I mean, there have been instances where different groups working together, one couple comes in and then another couple comes in behind them, and they don't seem to know each other, but they really do, and one's distracting the agent while the other one's going through the jewelry drawer or something.
I know an agent, she had a 6-year-old steal a $5,000 ring.
Wow.
They found out and they got it back to them.
Yeah.
They were angry.
That's why we get you to come to the open house, right? Then you got,
Hey, if you
I was
get,
gonna mention one thing too. A few minutes ago, you mentioned being pre-approved if somebody hasn't been pre-qualified in a while. A credit bureau is good for 120 days. Okay, so that's pretty standard. So if you find someone that's, that got pre-qualified, or pre-approved, 90 days ago, and you're closing, and you get a contract with them, and you close it in 45, a new bureau's gotta be pulled. Okay, so just be aware that it's 120 days, and we see it all the time where Johnny went and got an $800 car payment 2 months ago, and we didn't know it.
well, outside of the credit score thing, you got to be aware, we're not in that environment so much right now, but there for a while, our rates were going up. Somebody might have gotten approved 3 weeks ago at 6%, and now rates are 7.5%. Well, that's a whole different approval,
yeah. Well, Cruz, I'm excited about here. I want to hear what you got because I love you have a laid back approach. Does anybody have any questions? And listen, I appreciate you listening to my rambling.
It was great.
Yeah, tell us about what you've been doing and what's been working for you, Cruz.
So a lot of it's similar. So thanks for preparing all that. I think the mindset going into the open house and the energy you have going into it plays a big role into it. My number one thing, you already said it, but I want to reiterate, is ask them what their agent's name is, because asking them if they have an agent is just a total different thing. I do like to print out a bunch of MLS pages for listings that are in a similar price point, so that when the buyers come through, I can show them there's 3 other homes in this neighborhood like this, but price per square foot and what you're getting out of this specific one, there's a little bit extra value. It has these features that those don't. And then, depending on what they say, potentially even lining up a showing to go see those other ones after the open house. That's been helpful. I always, like you said, you don't want to assume someone's seriousness. You want to take everybody serious. So I like to ask people, are you planning to pay cash or do you plan on doing financing? And I think that gives somebody confidence for them to think that I assume that they're going to pay cash for
Absolutely.
$1 million house or whatever. And that has paid off. It worked on one of Chad's listings.
Cruz's it was your first closing, wasn't it?
First closing. I did an open house in Pelham for Chad and had a client come through, and I asked him, are you planning on using cash or financing? And, he was wearing gym shorts, flip-flops, you would have never known. And he goes, I'm going to do cash. And they didn't buy anything. Probably about a month or 2 went by. I kept following up with them. And for some reason, that property was still available, and it ended up closing cash.
That's awesome.
That was the
one instance of the house that you're sitting in and actually selling.
Yeah. And so that's another thing is, like, you mentioned this too, you always want to try to sell the property, especially if it's your own listing when you're doing an open house. But there's a lot of other intentions for the open house. It's not always going to be, you can't really convince someone to buy a house that they don't want. So it's more about having those conversations and finding out what they do want, following up with them. And I think that's probably been the most beneficial thing is just I stay on top of my leads, and I will not let someone leave the house without getting a lead. And I know that feeling because I've had people come in and they walk out, and now I just go, now I can't do anything.
So what do you do to get them to put their name and contact info on the paper for you?
I've tried a few things. I've tried giveaways. I've tried, sign-in sheets, feedback forms. But I think what's worked best is I just have my computer with my notes up, and I stand a little bit away from the door. They come in. I introduce myself. I get their name, and I tell them, go look around. Here's some of the features of the home. If you don't mind, come back to the kitchen after you've seen the property, and let's, I just want to get your feedback. And so after I've got their names, I go straight to my computer. I put all the information in. And then once I get their names in the system, I kind of walk around a little bit with them, keeping my distance, and just pulling little nuggets of information and putting them back in my notes.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
great.
then when they leave, I can call them the next day and say, hey, thank you for coming. I know y'all were looking. I know you've seen 3 other properties this week. Is there anything I can do to go show you something else, or did you want to come back, or did you put an offer in? Just depending on the situation.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think
But
that's good because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself where they're just associating you with that house, and if they don't want that house, then you're out of the picture.
Right.
Yep.
Because it shows them I can sell you this house, or if you're wanting something with another bedroom or with a better basement or whatever, well, I can help you with that too. This is not the only house I'm capable of helping you with. It broadens your reach.
For sure. And one thing I always like to offer them something as like a freebie, and the MLS search, putting them on a search for their criteria is like my go-to.
Yeah.
That's like almost the first thing I start with is like, if you're looking for a home and you haven't found it, what I can do, and I make it sound fancier than it is.
Yeah.
I can go into my Realtor MLS system and put all your criteria in, and it'll ping you when they're coming soon or when they're active. And if you're getting emails that don't fit the criteria, let me know, and I can make those adjustments to fit your
Yeah.
needs. And then I start seeing the emails they're getting, and every now and then I'll just see one pop up and go, "This looks like a good one." You go see it.
Yeah, and that's good. I know it makes me really sad because the last time I did this class, I was telling everybody how I connected you with HomeSnap, and I can't do that anymore. Like that was my tool all the time. But I do that, and I'll say to them too, like, hey, no pressure. But if you want something coming directly to you with the parameters that you're looking for, like let me set you up on a home search. And and then you're right, because you get to go into the system and see, oh, they opened up the email, they did some, they engage. You were asking too, I wanted to say this real quick about what if somebody puts like a 1 or whatever. I do ask about those questions though, like if they gave, the value, just say they gave it a 1 and say, hey, I noticed that you gave the value a 1. What did you base that on, if you don't mind me, asking? And then they'll tell you, well, I think it's overpriced. Well, what, and then that can start kind of that.
Smelled like dog.
Start that conversation. And then too, if somebody hasn't filled it out, and I feel like I've built enough rapport, if they haven't put their name on there, I'll get it. Like I'm going to get it. I'm not saying that. I've had people walk away, but I'm going to try my best to be as nice as I can, to get the information. But I do ask questions. And some people will engage with you, and some people they won't.
One thing that I like that you said about it being professional and done the right way is we're also on an audition for any sellers who are coming to look at that house.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're showing what we would do for them.
Right.
Right. That's why you invite the neighbors too, because the neighbors do see that and they're like,
Listen,
oh, they work really hard.
That's the overriding theme in most of what I do marketing wise and everything. I know a lot of the things I'm doing are not going to bring a buyer, but I know other potential sellers are paying attention to it, and they want that so they'll call it because I like what you're doing, so they'll call us, so.
Yeah, there's still a lot of agents that don't do a whole lot for their clients.
Yeah. Cell phone pictures, which you don't need because Brian can take care of it for you. No, I mean, there's all kinds of things. But I think the overriding thing about this today, that one big takeaway, there's so many takeaways, but is follow-up. Everybody's talked about that's been successful with this of, if you get that information, don't just get it and hope they're going to call you one day. Put a system in place to where you can remind yourself to follow up, a day or two after it, and then if you're doing a newsletter, maybe put them on your newsletter, list, so they're getting the newsletter once a month or twice a month or however often you're putting it out. Just things like that to stay in front of them, so that when they do get ready to do something, they don't really have a reason to say they forgot about you. It's your responsibility to make sure they don't forget about you.
Yep.
Another thing I do too is I have like a pre-done template for a couple of common scenarios. And so if I meet someone in an open house that has a property to sell, I have a template that I send the next day that just says, hey, thank you for coming out to this property. Thanks for providing your address. I did have a chance to run some comps on your house for when you get ready to list. And I'll kind of give them my opinion of what their house is worth.
That's awesome.
That's
I love that.
My next meeting with them is to go to their place.
I love that. That's awesome.
All right, anybody got any last questions? We're about to run out of time here shortly, and I want to give Drew a chance to come up and tell about what he's doing.
I'll add a comment. I'll just say, it was mentioned a couple times.
You have a card?
Budget for some giveaways and open house. I've done this for several people, Chad included. Call me. I have a budget for that. I can help you with some waters and stuff. As long as I can put some material out, I can help with that, and I don't mind doing it. It's good for my business. And also, if you ever have any concerns in a house, if it's going to be an insurance concern, a liability concern, feel free to run that by me. I don't have to be your agent. I don't have to be your referral partner. You ain't got a good agent, call me. I'll help you. Sometimes I'll give unsolicited advice, like I gave Chad recently. If I see something, I'll be glad to look at it. So sometimes you're looking through it through a realtor eyes, not an insurance eyes, and that could be a problem for you. I've seen insurance companies turn houses down because the slats on the deck were horizontal, which isn't code, and kids can climb up and go off of the deck. So little things like that sometimes can make a difference. And so if you have questions, if something's a problem or not, before it becomes a problem, call me, send me a picture. Be glad to help out. So.
It's good to know. All right, Drew, you want to come up and talk about what you got going on? Drew has started a new enterprise. I'll hand the mic over to you.
Awesome. Guys, I'm Drew Taylor. Work with Rebecca on our team. And one thing I'll add, what they were saying, what Cruz was saying, always have a plan for follow-up. Like, you will waste your time at an open house if you don't have a solid follow-up plan. Whatever CRM you're using, whether it's KV Core, MLS is a great way to do it. Set them up on a search and just, the magic is in the follow-up. So you got an opportunity to meet somebody face-to-face. Somebody that signs up on a website or a Zillow lead, you don't get that opportunity. So take the opportunity when you meet somebody face-to-face and just really, you've established that rapport, so keep going. So one thing Chad wanted me to come talk about what we've got going on. I've been in real estate for, this is my 20th year this year, or 19th. I've lost track. I think it's whatever. But
both of us.
Long time. So one thing that I've done recently is I've partnered with two good friends of mine and clients. They just about to be clients and friends, construction industry veterans, and they've had a vision. Came to me because I'm on the real estate side of things. They know that I do a lot of project management and construction on the side. I flip generally about 3 or 4 houses a year, and I wouldn't call them flips. I'd call them more like full-blown rehabs. I've got one now in Hoover that's kind of driving me crazy, but hopefully it'll be done by the end of the month. But it's one of those things where they came to me and said, hey, we have this idea, vision of creating a all-encompassing property, just construction, roofing, maintenance, pretty much anything exterior construction. Trying to stray away from doing a lot of interior stuff. That's probably going to be something down the road. But they're both construction industry veterans. One of them in particular is an actual veteran, and he's the majority owner of the company. His name's Chip Howard, did 3 tours in Iraq. And so he is the majority owner of the company. So we are a veteran-owned company, and that's why the name of the company is Patriot Service Pros. A big component of what we're doing right now is we're breaking off a separate, and we're working on that part of it, but the roofing company. So we partnered with one of our big installers that's going to do all our installation for us on the roofing side. They've been doing it for a very long time. They're triple silver platinum rated with GAF. They offer a 50-year full warranty. So one of the things that, as you guys are listing houses, if you're going, if you guys are doing pre-listing inspections, which I would recommend most of you guys doing on a house, if somebody's been there longer than 5 or 6 years, it'd be great to get a home inspector that you guys trust, you use normally, to come in and just do it. It's worth the money to go in and up front, especially in this market where you're trying to set yourself apart. You're trying to set your listing apart from other listings in a community. I would definitely recommend doing a pre-listing inspection, and part of that is anything from siding repairs, windows, doors. We'll do all that, but the biggest thing is on the roofing side. And I know Jacob can speak to this. We've had a lot of storm activity the last 2 years, and a lot of storm activity that people don't even know they've got damage. And so just last year alone, even before we started this venture, I helped probably 6 or 7 of my customers get new roofs because they had hail damage, storm damage they didn't even know they had. And a lot of that came as a result of, we were under contract. I was the listing agent, and then we had the home inspection done, and it's like, well, we've got hail damage, what we think is storm damage, roof damage. So we're able to really help them. But one of the big selling points on doing that up front is the way these guys operate through GAF is they do such a great job that GAF has basically gone to them and said, hey, we trust you. So when you guys do the work, not only we guarantee the roof for 5-year craftsmanship labor warranty, they guarantee it for 50-year warranty. 15-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, and that warranty is fully transferable within the first year if your client sells the home. So if you've got a listing you're going to, questionable on the roof, call us. We'll come. We've got a couple of guys that work with us that have been doing this for a very long time. They can help you. These guys aren't your, fly-by-night guys. These are the guys that'll help us come look at it, diagnose it, see if there's an issue. And if there is, if it works out to where they do need a roof, whether insurance or they're going to pay out of pocket, they will sign a document at closing within that first year, and that new homeowner gets a 50-year warranty on that roof. So that could be, if you're looking at apples and apples, if it's a similar house in the same neighborhood that you're competing against, that could be kind of one of the tipping points or something that puts it over the edge.
50 or 15?
50. Yeah, well, it's a 50-year, after 15 years, it starts, the warranty will start
Prorated.
depreciating a little bit. But it's a 15-year full, like, if, no questions asked if anything happens. And a lot of times you hear roofing companies say, hey, we do a whatever, 30-year, you hear a 30-year roof all the time.
Yeah.
Well, most of these guys aren't installing the roofs to the standards of the company. And it's kind of like home warranty. How many of you guys have dealt with home warranty companies that don't want to pay? Raise your hand.
All
Everybody?
week long.
So basically it's the same deal in any kind of manufacturer's warranty. If it wasn't done exactly to the specs that they require, then they're not going to pay. They're going to say, yeah, it wasn't done correctly. We're not going to pay for it. So if it requires however many nails per square and they use too many or too less, sorry guys, we're not going to pay for it. So doing it to the specific manufacturer standards is going to help tremendously when it goes a long way for your customers. And that's what we're trying to do. Trying to be a little bit more professional and kind of like in our industry, trying to be a little bit more professional in kind of an industry that has kind of an unprofessional reputation sometimes. So I'm going to leave this up here for you guys. It just kind of gives a breakdown of what we do. You can go to our website, call us, anything you guys need. The roofing, we're actually doing a separate roofing website soon, so will be launched in a couple weeks. And so you guys just feel free if you guys have any questions, anything.
So what type of exterior stuff are y'all doing? Because we all know how important like curb appeal is.
Decks, porches, major, minor. I mean, we just did. My guys just did 2 chimneys for some guys over in Russet Woods that needed replacing the masonry chimney.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Anywhere from fencing. We just did 2 really cool, and not just your normal privacy fences. I mean, my neighborhood, I live in Inverness. We just did 2 really nice fences for a couple of neighbors that back up to the golf course. So we did a combination on those. We did a combination of 8-foot horizontal slat wood fence with the 6-foot privacy wrought iron fence across the back because they backed up to the golf course. They didn't want to obstruct that view.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything you guys can think of. Just if we don't do it, I've got somebody that can. So just call me. I'd be more happy to help you guys out.
Awesome.
So. Appreciate you.
Thanks, yeah.
And you guys, these are the flyers right here. If you guys need them.
All right, well, thanks for coming today, everybody. If anybody's got any other questions, hit us up. But that's about the end of our time for this room. So I appreciate it. Yeah, this was good stuff. I appreciate all y'all coming. This was a great turnout, and we'll do it again next month.
Chris, good to see you. See you. Always, Bill.
I did. Look, listen, I'm so cool. Like last night I was like, let's get on the computer and I was like, well, no, I should text you. Yeah.